is Jamar Chase. I have him as my number 3, you have him as your number 4. To me, Jamar Chase, it's not that he gets slept on. I think obviously the stardom of Justin Jefferson is great, and Jamar Chase has been hindered with a little bit of injury here and there, especially this past season. But that being said, he still came out the gates as a rookie with 1,400 yards and 13 touchdowns. And last year, he only played 12 games. He had 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. So he bested Jefferson in touchdowns in 5 less games. Now, did I expect him to get 800 more yards in those 5 games? No. That's just ridiculous. So what I think, the thing about Jefferson that gives him a nod to me over Cooper Kupp is he does have the touchdown ability, but his quarterback gives me the nod. I just like Joe Burrow a little better than Matt Stafford in terms of getting the ball to Justin Jefferson and that offense getting the ball in the red zone a lot more often. Jamar Chase, sorry. Getting the ball in the red zone a lot more often than the Rams are, because I just think the offense in Cincinnati is better than the Rams offense, even though 2 years ago they end up losing the Super Bowl to them. But again, I can have this, flip-flop 3 and 4, in my opinion, between Chase and Kupp, because the two of them are going to get the lion's share. The two of them are going to get great opportunities. The two of them are great catchers. Obviously, Kupp, I think, has a little bit better hands. But that being said, Kupp and Jamar Chase here, in my opinion, is going to get over double-digit touchdowns again, and I could see him being around 1,600 yards this year.
Yeah, this is where I disagree with you on a couple of those points. And this is what I'll say. The same way that Travis Kelce is in a tier of his own, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, and Justin Jefferson are in a tier of their own. Mm-hmm. And there's everyone else after that. So Chase, what did he finish last year as the wide receiver? 12 overall, right? Yeah. And so he missed 5 games last year due to an injury. But his one knock, he had 6 games that where he scored under 10 points. So he had 2 games where he scored 25 plus points, because he had 2 touchdowns over 130 yards in both those games. Mm-hmm. But he had 6 weeks where he was not targeted. Yes, do I like the Cincinnati Bengals offense better? Absolutely. Do I like Joe Burrow as a better quarterback than Matthew Stafford? Absolutely. But Joe Mixon is still there. Joe Mixon had a 5-touchdown game last year. You think they're throwing the ball? You think Jamar Chase is involved in that game? No. T. Higgins is there. T. Higgins is still commanding, we've talked about it, he being a 1A to, a 1B to Jamar Chase's 1A. When you have that, when that 1A, 1B situation, and it's a little bit different than Tyreek Hill and Waddle, because they both get volume there. The same thing applies for Jamar Chase and for T. Higgins. Is they're splitting the target shares. With Cooper Kupp, you're not. With Cooper Kupp, it doesn't matter who's on the other side. He's getting the target shares. He's getting 40% of passes that are thrown his way, and Jamar Chase is not getting that. Am I saying that he is not worthy of a top 5? No, he's my number 4 ranked wide receiver, but he's more cautionary. Those top 3, I feel secure. I know I'm going to draft a stud. I'm not as confident with Jamar Chase as being a top 5 at the end of the year as I am with the other guys. Well, I've talked about it before, where I think that I've seen the rankings of Jamar Chase in the top 3 or even as number 1 wide receiver.
Number 1's ridiculous to me, but
I cannot make an argument for him being that. You look at the stats over his career. He is talented. He is fast. He has a rapport with Joe Burrow. Yes, all these things are correct. You're not wrong. These people aren't wrong on any of that. What they're wrong in is that offense and the way they scheme is Joe Mixon still runs the ball a lot. And Joe and Jamar Chase, he has games where he doesn't completely disappear, but he's held in check. And if he's getting top coverage, Joe Burrow's not going to just throw the ball to him when he's being covered. They have T. Higgins on the other side. They have Tyler Boyd. They have other weapons there that they just are going to use. And I guess you can make that same argument for Justin Jefferson this year, as there's other weapons there, but I still think just the pure talent alone, Jefferson is way better than Chase.
Well, yeah, Jefferson's growth shows you that he is that offense, that he's going to be heavily involved. That being said, that set aside, I don't necessarily think Jamar Chase is not going to be heavily involved. I mean, we talk about it. You know, he was a wide receiver 1, 2 weeks in a row. He was a wide receiver 2, a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 3. He did have 4 weeks in a row where he seemed to quote unquote disappear because he had 8 points or less and didn't hit double digits. But that being said, he was
targeted a lot in all those games.
I was going to say, it wasn't because of targets. It was because of receptions and yards per reception there. So that being said, I see what you're saying. I have him as the reason why I like him as the number 3 is not because I don't like Cooper Kupp. It's because I do like Joe Burrow that much more. And the fact that he played 12 games last year and he was targeted 134 times. The number that scares me a little bit is the 87 receptions. Like, you want to see that number and 134 targets be higher than 87. I mean, that's 64%, compared to someone like Tyreek Hill who goes for 70, somebody like, he had 119 Tyreek Hill and still had 1,700 yards, Cooper Kupp, he's in the 73% range. And then, one of the other top receivers last year, Devontae Adams, he had a low catch percentage last year. But in order for that to happen, you need to have the 180 targets he had. So the fact that he had 137 targets and it was in that 64%, if he gets that number up to 68 to 71% this year, with the target share he's going to hold on that, yes, there's other mouths to feed and everything like that, but 134 targets in 12 games is a lot. That's an awful lot. That's wide receiver 1. That's top 5 wide receiver numbers. I expect him to be around that range. I expect him, if he finished, would have been a top 3 receiver in the NFL last year, because 9 touchdowns in 12 games, I think he would have went up on that. That's where I see him, is that his touchdown capital is just too good to pass up. And I know Cooper Kupp had that the year before, and Cooper Kupp had a ton of touchdowns too. That's why I said, to me, they're interchangeable. I just like Joe Burrow that much more, and I think that offense is going to score more points than the Rams will. That's why I like
we're arguing the 3 spot versus the 4 spot. So
but that's what we got to do.
They're both in our top 4. But you're looking at these details, and that, again, this is where I value him a little bit more. I value Cooper Kupp a little bit more just because of the volume that goes his way, whereas Chase is competing with target share, and he's in an offense that, Mixon the team itself is going to find the best way to win, not just hyper target on 1 or 2 players.
Yeah.
And we've seen it. We've seen weeks where both him and T. Higgins are not really heavily involved, where they bring the number 3 in, or the tight ends are more involved, or Joe Mixon's involved. And you don't. To me,
what you got to say though is involvement is the wrong term, because Chase was involved every single week.
Let's say production.
Production, because he had 1 week where he had 6 targets, he had 4 catches, still had 81 yards in that game. But
lowest targets.
His lowest target that game. But what I'm saying, he gets the targets, so he gets involved. It's just a matter of the actual production out of that involvement. Are there going to be some screen passes? Are there going to be quick slants, like stuff where he can be tackled real quick? Because, yards per target for him last year, he had some games where his yards per target were like 6 yards per target. And then he had other games where they were an average of 13 yards per target. So that's, I think, the difference in him is his route tree. It can be short, it can be long, because of the talent around him, where people like Cooper Kupp and people like Justin Jefferson, they're running all of them. And they're also running a lot of big plays downfield, because of the fact of the matter is they are the talent.
Well, and this is just my preference. Even him sitting at the 4, I'd rather have T. Higgins 2 rounds later. I think it's a better value.
Well, we talked about that. I agree. I like the value of him much better. I do. I agree. I think T. Higgins in the late 2nd, early 3rd round on that turn is, to me, much more valuable than taking Jamar Chase early in that 1st round.
Yeah.
Now, if Jamar Chase falls to you at the end of the 1st round and he's sitting there at 10, 11, 12, now you're talking about value in the 1st round to get somebody like Jamar Chase.
if he's sitting there at 8 or 9, you should take him.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like, but he's not a late round first pick. Like he should be drafted earlier on. Like I would say he's my top 9 player on the board. I think Travis Kelce, I'd put insert him, and I probably have 4 running backs that are above him as well. But yeah, if I'm sitting there at the 9 spot and he's off the board, or he's not off the board, then I'm going to take him there.